Hi there, it's Thomas. Now, most big gaming publishers are subject to leaks on a regular basis, when news of their big plans somehow becomes public before it's meant to. Nintendo, though, are a little different. This Japanese publisher is a lot more secretive than their contemporaries, and so, while Nintendo's plans are certainly still leaked from time to time, it's a lot less common. But what if the leak came from Nintendo themselves? That's right, today I want to tell you the story of when Nintendo leaked their own game 2 weeks early. Now, the game in question is Paper Mario Color Splash for the Wii U. It's not the most popular game in the Paper Mario series, but it is widely regarded as a big improvement over its predecessor, the much maligned Paper Mario Sticker Star. Now, development on this Wii U RPG began sometime around 2012, when a developer at Intelligent Systems, one of Nintendo's partners, called Atsushi Ikuno, noticed his kids having fun colouring at home. So inspired by this was Ikuno that he got in contact with one of his friends at Nintendo, a producer named Kensuke Tanabe. And together, the pair decided to feature colour as the theme for the next Paper Mario game. Ikuno was brought in as director of production, and alongside the team at Nintendo, work began on this next big Paper Mario game. And 4 years later, in March of 2016, the game was announced to the public under the title Paper Mario Color Splash, and the game's release date would be October 7th, that very same year. Now, normally with video games, things are still being worked on right up until the last minute. Often games don't fully come together until a month, or in rare cases, a week before the game's scheduled release. This is the industry standard, it's just how things work. But Paper Mario Color Splash was a completely different story. In May, less than 2 months after the game was announced, a Kotaku reporter was given the chance to test it out. When he joked to one of the producers that it probably wasn't finished yet, she let slip something very interesting. It's complete. That's right, 5 whole months before its release date, Paper Mario Color Splash was finished, done. While there might have been some very slight tweaks in the intervening months, the game was essentially destined to sit on Nintendo's servers unchanged for 5 whole months, just waiting for the October release date to roll around. But this very fact would lead to some major unforeseen consequences. In the early hours of September the 26th, sometime around 5:15 a.m, something big happened inside Nintendo of America. Now, it's hard to know exactly what that event was. Perhaps some piece of code malfunctioned, or maybe an engineer just clicked a button by mistake. The answer will likely never be revealed. But either way, early one September morning, anyone who had pre-ordered Paper Mario Color Splash had a change take place on their Wii U. You see, the game's release was still 2 weeks away, but if you had preloaded the game onto your console, you could start playing it then and there. There was meant to be a restriction preventing you from booting it up until release date, but at 5:14 a.m, this restriction was inadvertently lifted. And it wasn't long before news broke online. The first reports came from a now suspended Twitter account called Electrivirus, who posted a picture of the game running on their Wii U. "It's true," they wrote. "Digital copies of Color Splash can be played right now." Soon, other Twitter users began to catch on too. "Let's a go," wrote Nintendo World reporter Donald Terriel. And an hour later, news hit gaming forum NeoGAF, where it spread like wildfire. Countless users posted screenshots from the unreleased game, gave their thoughts on the new mechanics and graphics and music too. This was a golden opportunity. Who knew how long it would last? At around 7 a.m, some Nintendo of America employee must have woken up to a big fright. their unreleased Paper Mario game had been accidentally released. Sound the alarm! Shut it down! This had to be stopped! And the approach that Nintendo took was a nuclear one. Not only was the ability to pre-download the game removed, this was the cause of the issue after all, but they also completely got rid of the Buy Now button. You couldn't even pre-order the game at all. But by then, it was too little, too late. If Nintendo had wanted to keep information about this game hidden away, well, it was very much out in public. While no new copies of the game could be downloaded or played, anyone who already had the game could just keep on playing. It wasn't removed from their Wii U. And so, bit by bit, more information began to surface on the internet about Color Splash. Now, in the hours following this event, some people speculated that perhaps this wasn't the accident it seemed at first. Perhaps it was a stunt designed to drive up interest around this fairly polarizing new game. But in the afternoon, Nintendo themselves put out a statement to clarify. Quote, "For a brief period of time, Paper Mario Color Splash was inadvertently made available to the public via Nintendo eShop on Wii U, and a small number of consumers were able to purchase and download the game. Access to the digital version of the game is no longer available. The digital version of the game will be available for download in Nintendo eShop on Wii U when Paper Mario Color Splash launches on October the 7th. Which leaves us with one final big question. What went so disastrously wrong at Nintendo on that unsuspecting September morning? Well, we can never be sure, but that doesn't stop us from theorizing. And so I got in contact with two members of the Nintendo data mining community. These are people who go through the files of video games to figure out what's actually going on in there. And one of the most prominent figures in this community goes by the name NWPlayer123, or Nikki. She's the one who unearthed Splatoon's unreleased weapons months before they went public. And another is named Ultier, I hope I'm saying that right, and he was one of the first to get his hands on the files of Paper Mario Color Splash. Now, while these two don't work for Nintendo, they're likely to know more about the internal workings of the company's games than perhaps a lot of the people at Nintendo of America. So, I asked them, what do you think went wrong here? Why did the game become available 2 weeks early? Well, they were both careful to point out that without being there at the time, it's impossible to know for sure, but that didn't mean they didn't have any theories. Nikki told me, my guess would be that they authored it with the wrong launch date and it auto-launched without them having to push a button. And that makes a lot of sense. After all, it would seem strange if Mr. Nintendo had been sat in his office pressing the launch game button when it wasn't ready yet. It seemed a lot more plausible that some employee had, months ago, set the wrong date in Nintendo's system and then forgotten about it all. Oh, and Altair noticed something really interesting too. He explained, since they had to completely take it down from the eShop, it seems that they didn't have an option to change the release date or re-enable the lock to prevent us from playing it. Basically, somebody just made a mistake and forgot to enable the preload lock. Now, to reiterate, those were just some theories the two put forward. It's impossible to know what happened with 100% certainty. But I find this whole incident really interesting. Sure, leakers might uncover details of upcoming game launches, and data miners can dig up unreleased content from the game's files. But it was Nintendo themselves who inadvertently leaked their entire video game 2 weeks early. Hey, thanks for watching. Be sure to subscribe for more videos like this. A big thanks to Nikki and Altair for helping me understand what might have gone on behind the scenes. Their Twitter accounts are linked below, along with mine if you want to see what's going on with me in the future. And I'll see you next week. Bye!